You're listening to the Totally Indian Football Show by Humans of Indian Football.
Welcome to a brand new series called the Totally Indian Football Show, brought to you by HOIF, that's Humans of Indian Football. And this special series is going to be running throughout exclusively during the season. So we'll get you all the football discussions from on and off the field during the season, whether it's I-League, ISL, and so on. Well, guys, let me first introduce our expert panel. We have four members, but unfortunately, today we only have three of them. Let me introduce, starting with Mr. Sandeep Menon. We also know him as a podcaster. He also is a journalist and a writer. His podcast is famous for all the great interactions that he brings with players, coaches. It's called The Injury Time. Sandeep, welcome all the way from Bengaluru.
Thank you, thank you. Very, very happy to be part of the show. Another thing for me to do during this, bullshit time where nothing is happening.
Well, ऐसा मत बोलो, बहुत कुछ होने वाला है अभी आगे जाके. We
Yeah,
have
excited.
We also have Sayak Dipta Dey, who is the youngest of the lot and also a great potential journalist to look forward to. He breaks news, he gets all the transfer details, and we've had him on HOIF. He covered the qualifiers for us. But unfortunately, since he's still doing his studies and exams, he's busy with class, so he won't be joining in today. But moving on with Arco, we have some a veteran come back on the Indian football podcast scene, and also he's been away from the Twitter feed as well. So many of them have asked, when he left, why and where is he? So HOIF is proud to bring him back. Welcome, Marco.
Yes, my Vanvas is over finally, and I'm hoping to make a JJ-esque return, to the Indian football scene. Obviously, I've talked to all of you, and a lot before, and obviously, I mentioned that Sandeep and me, we go way back in the podcasting circle, so it's good to be back. It's good to be back with you, Siju. Veteran host also. So yeah, here's hoping for a great season.
Well, great. Our last but not the least, and never the least, Ajay Menon, our very own guy behind HOIF as well, behind a lot of Forza in the Academy also. Welcome, Ajay.
Hey, welcome. I think I've come in through the management quota, the corporate quota over here. So feels good and looking forward to a brilliant season of Indian football ahead.
Great. So let's kick start, and I'm your host, Siju Matthew. Let's kick the first ball and get it rolling. Firstly, we start with the season has already started. It's not, if you guys are thinking it's with ISL, no, it's not. We had the Hero I-League Qualifiers that gave us all the things that we were looking forward to or probably missed out the action for 8 months, 7, 8 months, and it gave us everything. And the Black Panthers, Mohammedan SC, are back in the I-League. And we have, though we had the two big giants from Kolkata joining ISL, we have yet another one in the I-League now. So, with the whole, we've been hearing about the whole sports coming back. I think it started with cricket in England, if I'm not wrong. And we heard a new term called the bio bubble. And we were, talking about it and what is the bio bubble. And we were wondering if India is ready to host a sporting event amidst the pandemic. And we saw IPL being hosted in UAE. But then Indian football was the first sporting event to start in the country, and it was the Hero I-League qualifiers, which the I-League 2 season was shortened because of the pandemic, and we had to have a winner. So we had some great matches, some great. I think this is a good outing. But before we talk about the qualifiers, probably in brief, Sandeep, coming to you, you've spoken to players and coaches as well. Uh, what is the idea? Have you had a conversation with these guys about the bio bubble, the whole thing about being in a bubble, and some of the teams went from one bubble in their state to then to Calcutta.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting when you have conversation with the coaches and stuff, how they react to it. Like, for example, I spoke to Renedy Singh yesterday, and he was quite chilled out about it. He's like, everybody's in the same boat. It doesn't matter what it is. But there are other people who look at it as a more serious issue. I mean, not that Renedy is not, but like an issue with, you're staying in your room. You're only leaving when You go to train or to eat or maybe to the gym or to play. And the rest of the time you are cooped up in your room. So no family, no friends. I think I-League 2, they had for 3 weeks the bubble in that place. And this is ISL is obviously going to be 5 months plus preseason, etc. It's around 6 months. So it'll be much higher. From what I understand, it went quite smoothly. We Indians have this tendency to break rules anyway. So but thankfully not much happened. Whatever was made of that Gormangi Singh situation with FCBU was absolute crap because he got the permission and there was all sort of precautions taken when he met his wife, not some random woman also. So in that sense, I think they did a good job. It was a good dress rehearsal. There was a few errors in terms of like a player gets injured, he needs to get a scan. So they have to go out of the bubble. So there were a few mistakes in the beginning that I-League 2 had that these people probably did not think about, but were quickly sorted out. So I think going into the ISL, all these creeks must be sort of ironed out and should be easier. But never easy, right? To stay in the bubble. We've been staying in sort of our own home for what 6-7 months now, and I'm already mad about it. So yeah, I think it's tough. This season will be quite an odd one.
Yeah, Arko, coming to you, I think even you've been in quite a bubble for the past couple of weeks. So how do you make it when you are in a team sport, firstly, and then you have restrictions of, you can only go here and you can't probably have an off the field season and fun, but it's with restrictions. So how do you think the players and the coaches have to cope with it?
Well, I think firstly, even when the season goes on, players hardly have any time because when you're training twice a day, it takes the Mickey out of you. Like it's your body going through the ringer, especially in preseason. If you're having double sessions, I mean, you better be physically prepared to have it. So, I mean, the only source of entertainment that players had before, also even when the bubble wasn't maybe on a Sunday, which is off, they get like 1 day off in like 1 week or 2 weeks. They go watch a movie or something. Because the Indian season is so short and games keep coming thick and fast. Even during the normal season, also you can see that most of players only stay in their hotels or in their place of residence because now I think the understanding has evolved. More players are professional. Even the young ones realize the need to, what do you say, protect their bodies. Uh, they understand that it's a 10-year career, 12-year career at the max, right? So you need to make the most of what you have then. Obviously, the bio bubble adds an extra mental dimension to it where players are thinking, oh, we have to stay here for 6 months without seeing anybody. That is obviously the big catch, that you cannot you cannot meet family or spouse unless and until they are also registered in the bubble. But yeah, over and above, I would say that it's difficult for younger players who are in their first season. Let's say some of them are thinking, I'm not going to play also, and I'm also going to be in the bubble for 5 months. Is it really worth it? Is it really maintaining the rules? It's absolutely worth it. I mean, the fact that we are even having football at such a time is a is a calculated risk, obviously, but it had to start at some time or the other. So I mean, these precautions are necessary. I will not say that the bubble has uh, imposed harsh conditions in any way. So we see that players just have to get along with with their jobs. Like it's just 5-6 months, but yeah, it's easier said than done. And when you're in the bubble, those 5-6 months can seem very very long. So I think as professionals, players just have to get along with it.
Yeah, coming to you, Ajay, what are your thoughts on the entire bio bubble and how do you think the whole qualifiers went about? And we have a long, 4 to 5 months long season coming by now.
Firstly, it's brilliant, the way that the authorities and the local government and the IFA went about in conducting the qualifiers in Calcutta. Football, Association Football was probably the first team sport that, we had in the country post the pandemic, and to even actually do it right now in Goa under this bio bubble is a major achievement. I mean, the IPL had to be moved to the UAE, and they didn't have it here in India. So that sends out a very, very strong statement. And this season is going to be unique. I really think that uh, right at the start there are no clear favorites as such, because no one knows how a team is going to perform. It's all under a cloud. But here's just hoping that the season goes well without any interruptions, and you know us fans of Indian football get to see a spectacular ISL. And I think, as Sandeep mentioned, and this is going to be an odd season, and I really hope that it's an odd season that's worth to be remembered in the future years.
Yeah, before we go ahead and speak about ISL, which is coming up probably in less than a week or two, let's just speak in brief about and share our thoughts about the Black Panthers coming back to the I-League. Mohammedan SC, I mean, dominated the entire league. They went in with the favorites as the favorites. We saw some. They even gave us some off the field news bits as well. As always, Indian football comes with its own controversies and news. But we've already spoken about that a lot, and we'll keep that aside. But let's talk about Mohammedan SC's return to the I League. Sandeep, coming to you first.
Well, I think it's amazing whenever a club with such heritage does something nice and keeps moving up, because we are sort of in a corporately built league system. So we need these teams who are legacy clubs to stay and come up. And I think Mohammedan did the right thing. They're coming up to the I League now in a couple of years, and the promotion starts. Maybe they can try and get into the ISL as well. But it's just, you see all these things. What happened with Leeds United when they won? They finally made a comeback into the Premier League, and what it meant to the city. Now, I've never been to Kolkata at that time when Mohammedan was, one of the great teams or anything. I think I covered them in 2013, and they had a pretty terrible team in the I League at that time. But it's always nice. It's like heartwarming. So you see these two, ATK and Mohun Bagan, they are now a single entity. They've gone to the ISL. East Bengal has followed suit. Maybe people thought I League lost the marquee teams. So for another very old, probably, I think they're the oldest club in the country, if I'm not mistaken. And for them to come back into the I League and into the reckoning, into the minds and this thing of local, all people, not just Kolkata football fans, all the people in the across the country, all football fans. I think it's amazing. And what a beautiful jersey! What a beautiful jersey! I have to say, I know it's stolen from Black Panther and whatnot, but it's an amazing jersey.
Well, hopefully we get one on as the listener. I mean, people at the management, if they're listening to the show, please gift one to Sandeep. In that case, gift one to all of us. But moving on to coming to you, Ajay. We spoke about the two big giants that from Calcutta, East Bengal, and ATKMB, I have to say now, have moved to the ISL. So we kind of thought we may or we may not see a club from Calcutta, but here we are. We do have Mohammedan SC back in action. What are your thoughts on that?
It's amazing. I mean, to have such a name back into the I League is brilliant, because they have been in the wilderness for quite a while now, and at least things look quite promising when Jan Law was the coach, and they promised that it's going to be a start of a new era. Things didn't go as per plan, but some great signings. I mean, they had Willis Plaza also playing. They signed Anwar Ali also. That was another off-field controversy that was taking place at the time. And I think they've signed Arashdeep as well from Real Kashmir just a couple of days, prior to this the recording of this pod. So it is looking exciting, and I think they start off as favorites along with Gokulam Kerala for the I League title this year. And if things go well, I mean, it would be just brilliant to see another Calcutta team, coming up via promotion into the ISL, and that just takes the league to a different level when you have the city rivalries. The first time this year we're going to see East Bengal and Mohun Bagan battling out. If Mohammedan join in, that would be just the complete perfect scenario.
Well, coming to you, Arko, finally. You're from West Bengal, Calcutta, and What are your thoughts? How excited are you to see Black Panthers back in the I-League?
Very. When I was, young, the whole thing that hooked me on to Indian football was that I would go back in the summers and watch games at the Salt Lake Stadium. My uncle worked security at the stadium, so he took me to these games. The first game that I went to was Mohun Bagan versus Mohammedan. So definitely stoked to see Mohammedan back in the league. And to be honest, Mohammedan have a huge fan base in Calcutta. Like it's massive. These guys have been stagnant for so long, that Mohammedan pulled out in 2013, I think. It's been 7 years. 7 years they've suffered, and some very great players have played for Mohammedan. Honestly, through its history, I mean, it's a fabled club. It's like people almost forgot about it when they kept saying Big Two of Kolkata football, kept saying East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, but Mohammedan is there, right? And this year, new management took over. They said, let's start afresh, let's start anew. Yeah, we saw whatever happened off field, yes, but ultimately, your second division know-how prevailed. They knew how to get through the door. They did it. It definitely adds another dimension to the I League, because the I League this time was supposed to be held in Calcutta, and I think overall everyone will be happy that there is a Calcutta team in the I League, right? Uh, this season, I feel the I League is very unpredictable, because now that East Bengal, Mohun Bagan are gone to the ISL, you won't have your usual East Bengal favorites, Mohun Bagan favorites. You won't have that anymore. Uh, I think it's anybody's ball game right now. Like uh, I don't know why. I think real Kashmir definitely in with a chance of pulling an upset. I don't think it will be an upset, because they've done pretty well over the last two seasons. Punjab, we know, solidifying, the same guys who were in charge of the reserve team. They've got Floyd Pinto also. It's a pretty organized setup. Again, Gokulam Kerala, we know, will be there and about. So the I League, I think, will be hugely exciting, and Mohammedan's entry just what do you say, adds, it's really the cream on the top of the cake, so I mean, that's my personal feeling, at least.
Yeah, it's something really, really interesting and great to look forward to. Though we say there are no fans, we won't be able to watch it live. But I think these teams coming up and giving up a tough fight is going to be a brilliant one. Especially knowing for the fact that Jan 9th, we have a date finally for I League. And, we just can't wait to look forward to it, because we start the new year with uh, a great season to look forward to, especially in I League. Now let's move on to speaking about the ISL, the Indian Super League that we have probably in less than a week. We start, I think, if I'm not wrong, the next we're recording this on Wednesday, and this coming out on next Friday is when the season I League starts. So sorry, ISL starts. My bad. Now, let's speak about the transfers. I think the transfer is what kept the off season of past, like say 7-8 months of Indian football going. And we have the famous the Marcus, who kicked off, I think kept us glued to our Twitter. I think many of them even joined Twitter just to see Marcus's tweet and ask him who's joining my club and who's not. I don't think there was ever Indian football off season so interesting. Like I remember back in when I was in TFG and we had to record even during off season, we were like, kya baat karna hai? I wish it was, we did it now and we had plenty to talk about. So let's talk about the transfers. We have a lot of A League players coming, and we have yet again a heavy influence of Spanish players and coaches, and probably the coaching staff as well. So coming to you, Arco, what about what was the most interesting aspect for you during the transfer window that we had throughout the off season?
Yeah. No, as you rightly said, I'm looking forward to the Spanish Super League this time. There's a heavy influence of Spanish citizens currently in the league. Yeah, and if I'm not wrong, I think 7 out of 11 coaches are Spanish. The honorable exceptions are Odisha, Chennai, East Bengal, and Jamshedpur. Right, so
Jamshedpur, yeah.
Jamshedpur, yeah. So definitely looking forward to how the Spanish guys performs. Obviously Marcus, aka India's Fabrizio Romano, kept everyone glued right? The only thing he didn't say was "Here we go." That's the only thing he really didn't say on his Twitter. But apart from that, I feel everyone should just GPay Marcus $10 for his contribution to the off season. And honestly speaking, we've never seen this sort of traction for Indian football. Like I think Sandeep will also agree that he's also been very active on Twitter. We've never seen anything like this, to be very honest. We expect this from a cricket or an IPL, but I think our fear as journalists always have been that the off season has been 8 months long. So how do you engage your audience really during that time? What sort of pieces do you put out? What sort of discussions do you have? And this season we just saw transfer frenzy take over, because the last date for registration was, I think, 23rd, and it just went right down to the wire. Even now it's not finished, because even now you can sign free agents. So this being a corona year, what we've seen is that uh, teams have been very selective. Teams have been very picky and choosy about who they get. They've been very mindful, because obviously it's a buyer's market this year. Clubs have had more of a say, because your players, there's a lot of demand. There's not a lot of demand, I mean there's a lot of supply. So players have been ready to come and willing to play for for a pittance of what they usually would have taken, simply because of the extraordinary circumstances. As far as transfers go, I feel it's very difficult to rank teams according to transfers. We've seen that teams have broadly based their strategies based on two things. There are some teams who've taken proven performers in the Indian system and they've signed them. Jamshedpur and Mumbai City would be two examples where they've taken people who performed, and they've just said, okay, these guys have performed, so we'll put our faith in them. Then you had teams like Goa who've had to go out and change their entire foreigner lineup, right? But they had to do it obviously because some of the players moved to Mumbai City. So it's very interesting to see how the foreign signings, how fast they assimilate, because there's literally no time for them. Some of them came out of quarantine on 9th November, 8th November. So it's 2 weeks. Preseason usually dictates you have at least 5 to 6 weeks to, what do you say, to really come up to game speed, right? So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but at the same time, this makes the league even more unpredictable. Some of the teams could be starting the league with, let's say, 2 foreigners, 3 foreigners, and they could still do well. Goa, for example, started with 3 foreigners in their first match against Chennai last year, and they still won 3-0. So I think it's good news for the Indian core. It all comes down to who has a better Indian core at the start of the league. And with the ISL, we've always seen a pattern. Like, if you struggle in the first half of a season, you're out of it. There are very few teams which come back, and which manage to steady the ship. Like Chennai is a rare example. Chennai's last season is a very rare example of a team which was floundering, which was dead in the water, then came back to, reach the final. So we've seen, and this time the games are coming thick and fast. There's really no time to sit and breathe, right? So most of teams this time will be relying on their early season form, and in that aspect, teams which started early, teams which started the preseason with the Indians at least 5 to 6 weeks, in advance of the start date, those teams, I believe, will have the advantage. And I think there are only 3 to 4 of those teams. So the first round of games is going to be really interesting to see how it pans out, what sort of selection. And I believe by the time we go to January, we might have completely some teams might change their look completely. This is just a hunch that I have. Yeah.
Sandeep, coming to you, what was the most interesting aspect according to you during this for the whole transfer window that happened? And what do you think, apart from Marcus keeping us glued on, what do you think made it so, like I said, I don't think we've had an off season so interesting. So was it because of the whole situation, or
I think a lot of it has to do with the situation as well, because people were mostly stuck at home, working from home, and things. They had a lot more time. Even Marcus himself generally goes to office and stuff, but he this what 6 7 months has not been going to work, so he has had the time to give this kind of information, to engage with the fans and things like that. So We'll see if it holds on to the same interest the next season. Hopefully it does. I'm not very sure about it, but hopefully it does. And in terms of transfers, I mean, the A-League thing was pretty evident, right? Like they had a number of people, they had a salary cap and all that kind of things. A lot of players are on contracts, so they had to get somewhere to play. And India was a 5-6 month thing, and so they most of them came from there. I'm surprised at the amount of money that has been spent by the Indian clubs at this time, considering the economy and the money situation that most of us are going through. So that part was surprising. Then again, there was, I thought Goa did a very good job in terms of finding the right people to bring into their clubs. BSC also, it looks like the people they have signed, at least by reputation, seems like the good fit. They have addressed the issues they wanted to. ATK has again gone and splurged. Mumbai's transfer is a little confusing to me. I will get to that, I think, later in the pod. But by and large, it's been quite interesting. And I'm not this guy who gets excited by the foreign signings. I've always had this issue with when people say, "Oh, this guy's coming, that guy's coming." We have seen this too many times to fall into this trap that he will come here and do well. Indian football is an absolute labyrinth for a lot of people to, work with. And I'll give you an example. Like Daryl Duffy, who was the top scorer in I-League and played in Goa and all that kind of stuff. He was playing in Glasgow Rangers and things when he started. So when we spoke to him about, I asked him, is it easier to score the goal? And he's like, it's easier for me to score, but the number of times I make the run and expect the ball to be played and it is not played makes me tired, because he makes a run, the midfielder doesn't see it. That he has to come back and keep. It's the adjustment to India. This year, obviously, there's no travel, but generally the travel and all that kind of stuff is very, very difficult.
Ajay, coming to you, who are you most excited to see? The Aussies, the Spanish, or our Indians?
I think it's a mixture of both, but I'm very excited to see Mumbai City FC under Sergio Lovera. I think he's made. I mean, the City Football Group has come and they've elevated the transfer strategy to a different level. We all knew that Lovera is coming in. He's got a lot of Goa players with him. I really feel that Mandara Desai is a very underrated footballer. Whether he plays left back or plays up top on the left wing, he's a really good footballer and a really good asset to have. He's got in Murtada Fall also. He's got in Jahu, and I really feel that in the entire Goa FC Goa unit, Jahu doesn't get the credit compared to the flair players and Koro, and also Jahu has come in, Hugo Bumus has come in, Ogbeche has come in, Adam Lefondre has come in, so Farooq Chaudhry has come in. So a mix of players who've done it before in India, with Adam Lefondre being a marquee kind of a signing, with a whole bunch of Indians. Amrinder is there. I think Rakib has come in the right back slot. Farooq Chaudhry, as I mentioned earlier. So a lot of mix of talent, and with Lovera, I really hope that this time they won the Shield last year. I think they have a good chance to go all the way. And I think one team that has gone under the radar is Kerala Blasters. I think the best signing that they've made is Kibu Vikuna from Mohun Bagan. He's the I-League winning coach, and they bought him in. And I think they were one of the teams who started their preseason early as well. I think they finally got closure with the whole Sandesh Shingan transfer, since he's moved to ATK MB. That's clear. They've made some good signings as well. I think Gary Hooper has come in over there. So generally, I mean, every year, we've seen it with Kerala Blasters. There's always a big hype around them, and then they're flattered to receive, and then the stadium transforms into an empty, half-filled stadium, and the season just stagnates and withers away. But I think this year, Kerala Blasters fans and the Manjapada guys, although they won't be there in the stadium, I think they have a definite chance to make it in the top four, and probably go ahead into the playoffs that the ISL has. So watch out for Kerala Blasters. So for me, it's definitely these two teams. And being a Mumbaikar, I would definitely be hoping that Mumbai City does well.
Well, talking about transfers, we also have youngsters who've made the cut. Like we have graduates from the Reliance Foundation Young Champs, 9 players that we'll be seeing in action very soon. 3 of them are with KBFC, 2 are with Chennai FC, and 1 each with FC Goa, BFC, Mumbai City, and Hyderabad FC. Ajay, coming to you, in fact, when our off the record conversation, you were quite excited to talk about this as well. So, someone who's looked at the academy probably closely, or have had interactions with the coaches, and what do you have to say about this? We're going to see 9 players, and that's not a less number. I think we finally will see what RFYC actually does onto the field this season.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a start. I had a very good rapport with the former technical director, Mark Wasson. He's a Dutch guy, and he was basically, he was in charge for RFIC for a number of years. I think he left them just before the pandemic started. And yeah, I've gone to the facility many times. I've taken the team over there. We were scheduled to play some games also with the kids of Forza India Academy under 12 kids with the Reliance kids. So having looked at the facility closely, it's just amazing. It's probably one of the best in India, and it's a very similar model to the Tata Football Academy, but with a lot of different. It's a completely different approach because they are scouting kids from across the country. So we saw kids from Mizoram to a remote village in West Bengal where they scouted some talent to Kerala, to Maharashtra, to North. So they have kids from across the country from ages, I think, 9 right up to 18. And I saw Reliance in action against Premier League youth sides who had come in. We had the likes of Man United, Southampton, Chelsea. The youth teams had come to Reliance Corporate Park, and it is a world class facility, and they have a very strong vision for the future. I really love the fact that they are giving all these kids, apart from football, of course, they're giving them education. There are mental health doctors there, the nutritionists. I mean, it's the whole package. So it's not just the football aspect. They're making them into holistic, all fully rounded individuals as well. So just in case, if there's a child who doesn't make it as a footballer, as we saw in the case of Anwar Ali, for him, playing football is the only option. But with these kids, they're trying to give them an education and hone their skill sets, in an overall basis. So it's really exciting to see a couple of kids. I don't know the names of the children individually who have now signed for these ISL clubs, but I'm sure that I definitely have seen them in action. And as I told you, this is just a start, and expect a lot of kids graduating from there and maybe moving on to play for ISL clubs or even better.
Yeah, I mean, Ajay mentioned that he doesn't know the names. For our listeners who are tuned in, I can just take some time and probably mention the players of the 9 names that we have: Aritra Das, Mohammad Basit, Birender Singh, G. Balaji, Akib Nawab, Mohammad Nemil, Thoy Singh, Ayush Chikara, and Kaustav Datta. Arko, coming to you, we have these youngsters whom we'll see soon in action, hopefully on the field as well, and most of them have signed a 3-year contract with their respective clubs, while 2 of them are on a 2-year deal, and it's not a less amount of time, right? So how do you see this shaping these players up, and we really have future probably looking up?
So I honestly feel we can't, really tell anything from this season of this because it's the first season at the clubs. I think they'll be in and around the fringes of the clubs this time. Maybe a couple of them get a few substitute appearances. Uh, the one that's most likely to get game time is Ayush Chikara because I think he's on loan to Sudeva from Mumbai City. So he's the most likely because he's playing in the I-League. He's most likely to get some game time. Uh, the others, we'll really have to see because they have some very experienced Indian campaigners ahead of them. So we really have to see if they can get any sort of game time at all. But yeah, I think it makes sense for the ISL clubs to keep them for, let's say, 2 to 3 years, try and develop them even further, try and see if they can integrate them into their first team squad. Unfortunately, what has happened this time is that because of the pandemic, the game time that they would normally get in the state leagues or in the second division ISL, that has been curtailed. Otherwise, I think it would have been a fantastic proving ground for these kids, to play in the second division, to play in the state league, because you have to also keep in mind that they've been playing elite division football. They've been playing elite league till date, right? So yeah, I mean, expecting them to make the jump to ISL is probably a bit unfair on the kids themselves. But yeah, it's a good start for them to get signed with these clubs, train with them, get the proper be in a proper setup, get proper football education. What do you say? Go up the ladder organically. But this year, I don't think we should expect a bang from them immediately. I feel let them stay there, let them be there for 2 3 years, and then when they hit like 2021, then we see. I think we'll see a lot more loan deals from these kids. We'll see them move to more I League and I League second division teams to get game time. And to be honest, game time is the be it end all in Indian football. We like to say that this guy played very well 2 years ago, but in Indian football you have to prove yourself every season. Like, there is no other substitute, right? You have to get game time the previous season in order to be in the reckoning, unless you're a very huge name. I mean, unless you're a national teamer with like 25 30 caps for the national team, you can't get away with not playing even for a single season, right? Unless you have like a long term contract with that club and you were injured on duty for that club. So I feel these kids should, as Ajay said, I think they're very, it's a very good setup from what we've heard, starting from the mental aspect, physical aspect to educational. It's very important. And player education, I can't stress on this enough. Looking at the Anwar Ali case, I think player education becomes even way more important, because here we have a guy who was a really good footballer, really good prospect, but not able to play, right? So what does he do? He says, I have no other option but to play football. And we don't want anyone to be in that position, to be honest. Like, you feel bad for the guy. You also know it's a risk for him to play. You don't want that position. You want that these kids have multiple options growing up. If you can't be a footballer, you can be a lawyer, banker, whatever, but not be left with nothing if football doesn't work out. That you don't want that for, which is why I think the Reliance project makes even more sense in this case. Yeah.
Sandeep, any excited names that you are looking forward to seeing them play?
Yeah, before I come to that, can I just add a little to the previous question about interesting transfers?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the interesting things is Sandesh Jingen for a big money on quite a long-term deal also, I think. And Thiri is also come. So they have Preetham Kotal, Thiri, Prabir Das, Susai Raj. What happens to Sumit Rathi, who was he made such high, like, in terms of jumping, he made such a difference in his level of football. And what happens to him now? I know it's a 5 substitution, a lot of rotation, but for me, it's a little interesting to see what will happen to him. Probably won't be a first teamer going into the season. Then the other one is Ogbeche to Mumbai, because they have Fall, Jahu, Bomu, and then Lefondre. Where are you going to play all these guys at the same time? Like, Ogbeche is not going to run back. I don't know anything about Lefondre. So I got two strikers who plays, I think, 9. Are they going to play 4-4-2? I don't know. So it seems like an interesting signing. I just think they just signed a lot of players and told Lobera to let them play, because Edu Bedia told recently in an interaction that what Lobera is good at is letting people do what they're good at. So I assume they're just going to let them all do whatever they want to do, and we'll see that. Jackie Chance to JFC is also something that I'm quite interested in, because from all the conversation I had with the club and players around him, they are expecting him to be the Indian leader for the Indian kids, because they have a lot of good kids as well and connection with the academy and things. So they want him, who came out of nowhere, like, very, very humble backgrounds, who came out and played for India, went out of the team, came back. So they want him to take that role of an Indian leader who's played the finals, before, and was absolutely shattered when they lost. He told me that we played for 1 full year to lose in the 3 minutes before the end of the entire season and have to try all over again. So he has that mentality. They're hoping he will be that guy who can guide the youngsters, and it seems like he's doing a good job from what Amarjit and Jitendra and all have said. Then Ajit Kumar to BFC is also interesting because I want to know if he can make the jump up. He was very good for Chennai City. Big shoes to fill with Nishu, especially last year. The Redeem to Goa is also an interesting move. I think he also has something to prove there. Isaac to Odisha. Now I know Orko will agree with me. Him, he is a prospect. He is someone we can expect big things out of. So let's see if he can make that jump and do something for Odisha. And that team is also, quite a lot of good young players as well. So hopefully, under Gambao, I would have said 100% he is going to be a success because he is that kind of coach. The new person, I'm not very sure with Baxter if that is the case. Now, coming to the RYFC players, I have a different view on this. I understand totally that RYFC, the Reliance Foundation is doing a very good job with these players, giving them education at the same time and things. And I think again, Orko and I had this conversation before. There are players in Meso Premier Leagues and in all these other states who are young, who are doing very, very well. Maybe they should also get a look in more than these guys are coming straight out of academy now. How many of them are? How many of the other players are lucky enough to do that? But I think it's fair that we expect more out of these players. This Reliance Foundation batch and the Under 17 World Cup batch, because it's fair to expect more out of them because they have been given more. They've been given more than most of other generations and most of other players out there who have not been privileged enough to get through that, especially the Under 17 team. So I think like Orko said, I don't think they'll be playing much, especially in bigger teams like BFC or FC Goa, maybe FC Goa. In the teams like that who are challenging for the title, I don't think they will have much game time. And maybe 3 years down the line is when we can actually see how many of them are going to make it, because the jump from early youth football to senior football is very, very, very high. That is a very big jump, especially mentally, because these guys are playing elite league football. Now they're playing at a situation where win, loss, missed passes, goals, everything matters so much more in terms of money and their career, the coach's career, the club's future. So once that kind of pressure comes in, it takes them a while to get used to it. So we'll have to see how many of them will make the grade in the future. So I think it'll take 2-3 years before we can see how many of them can reach there. I don't think in 3 years they will have reached there. I think we can see where they can reach potential.
Absolutely. I mean, we have some great, interesting things to look forward to. Just like Sandeep mentioned, that we also have the Tata Football Academy kids also making it the cut, and we definitely the future looks good. All we have to see probably wait and see how things will turn up for these youngsters and for the clubs that they've signed in. Now, if we have to speak, we can keep talking about the various aspects. I think we already touched upon how this is the shortest preseason that it has had, and how it's going to be difficult mentally for the players as well. But I think as episodes go by, we will definitely touch upon that in detail. But we'll have to end the show here at this moment for today. And but finally, to ask all of y'all, one aspect, anything, it can be good or bad, probably you are looking forward to that the season finally begins. Ajay, coming to you first. What's that one thing that you're looking forward to? We'll say a good thing
I'm just,
only.
no, I mean, I'm just hoping that more people tune in because, the way that they built up the IPL, like IPL is a saving grace, and we were all going through, bad times because of the pandemic, and IPL bought a cheer on, and stuff like that. So they built up that for the IPL. I think it should also happen with the ISL. I think people have access to live streaming platforms and 4G internet thanks to some companies. So I really hope that this time around, especially with both the Calcutta legacy clubs coming in, we have more people tuning in to watch, because that's what we need. I mean, Indian football does need exposure. So yeah, just hoping and looking forward to a great season actually with all these names and with all these players that have come in.
Sandeep, over to you. What are you looking forward to in one aspect?
Well, first and foremost, is just to watch some football, Indian football, because European football. I used to be a bigger fan of European football before I started covering Indian football. Now this is the primary thing. So it's been a long time, and looking forward to that. And secondly, is I want to, and this is a little bit needle because I'm a Gokulam Kerala FC fan as well, is to see how Kerala Blasters do this year because they don't have fans. So are they going to improve because of that? Because they do get abused when they don't play well, or are they going to not do as well because their fans are not there backing them when things are going well? They've changed their entire foreign setup again, almost the whole foreign setup. The new coach, players, they do this every year. So very interested to see how it will go. Whether good or bad, I don't know, but I think it'll be interesting from their perspective for sure.
Yeah, I think we have one whole episode that we'll dedicate to speaking about this particular team. I think they're going to kickstart the season as always. They are the veterans in kickstarting ISL. They play TKMB, and we'll definitely speak about a lot. So I will keep my speech for that as well. Arko, coming to you finally. What is
Yeah.
that? What are you looking forward to?
As Sandeep said, I'm looking forward to just watching some football. I think we've all just been waiting to watch. I think the I-League qualifiers was, I think it was a relief for me when it started. I was like, yes, Indian football's finally back. And uh, honestly, I don't watch a lot of European football these days. I mean, I don't, that connect isn't there. Once you just start going to the stadiums, like you just fall in love with the local game. And I've been to about, I think, watched football in about 20 states over the last 5 years. So I've seen the beauty of Indian football. I've seen what it offers, and honestly, I can't take my mind off it. Like this is what interests me now. Like obviously, I can't go to Germany every day and watch games there. So nobody's watching games there anyway right now. So yeah, just to watch some football. uh, I also know that it'll just, the ISL season will just come and go in a flash, and then I'll be missing it all over again. But yeah, watching some football, I expect record viewership this time, because a lot of people at home, they're watching. If the IPL has set a trend, we saw a lot of people tuning into the I-League second division qualifiers. So these are really good signs for the ISL and I-League. More specifically, with regard to what I'm looking at, is that I feel this season might be a changing of the guard type season. uh, when Constantine finally took charge of the national team this for the second time, and the World Cup qualifiers didn't go so well. What we saw was that all of this, the old guard changed. This is, I'm talking about 6 years ago, 5 6 years ago. We saw a lot of new faces coming in, right, generally into Indian football. So we saw that finally a lot more youngsters had a chance to make their mark. I feel this again might be one of those seasons where we see uh, a lot more people making the mark. The five substitute rule obviously is a positive for young Indian players in that aspect. And honestly, if you're a fan of Indian football, who doesn't love young Indian players? I mean, you want to see those guys do well. You want to see them stake their claims in the teams that they are in, because simply because it's, to be honest, it's really difficult reaching the ISL and playing regularly in India, because right now you have 6 spots in the starting 11 of ISL teams. That's 6 into 11, 66. Of the tens of thousands of footballers that take up the sport in India, only 66 people are going to start for any ISL team on a match day. Those are like incredible odds for you to fight. And if you're getting there, I mean, you're worth it. I mean, you have something in you that you've got there, right? So I'm looking forward to that. Another thing I would like to emphasize is that the unpredictability of this season is also, I'm loving it, because anybody could win, right? It's not like the other seasons where you could look at the squad composition, you could say, "Ha, theek hai, these guys maybe not, these guys will be there and about." But this season, I feel, because some of the foreigners might not play from start, some teams might have to shuffle because of the games that are coming. So I feel there are no clear favorites this season, even though there are some teams who we expect to make top four more than the others. I just feel we should keep an open mind this season, and this season has the ability to surprise us.
Well, that's that then. I thought at least one of y'all will say are looking forward to being on this podcast. But anyway, I will take that point because nobody mentioned. I'm looking forward to the season, especially for this pod because we have some great names. And as you already heard it, you already know that what we are bringing you. It's not just about analysis of a team or a player or a coach, but we also have some interesting anecdotes that they bring in, that these interesting personalities bring in from their conversations with the coaches, the players, and management across in the industry. So that's what makes us unique, and that's the special output that we have from the Totally Indian Football show by HOIF. That's Humans of Indian Football, and we all are humans of Indian football. The ones, even if you're listening to it, you are also part of it. So if you're listening to us on all the audio platforms, do give us a like, share, and download it if you wish to listen to it later, and share it with your friends in your groups, with anyone you want to know about Indian football. This is a show for you, especially during the season. And finally, thank you so much, Arko, Ajay, Sandeep, for tuning in and for being part of it. This is just a formality. Thank you. Going ahead, I'm not going to thank you all because you're a part of it. It's done. You're signed. And yeah, you're a part of the show. Thank you so much, guys. And if you guys are listening to us on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe. And if you guys want to know their Twitter handles, we'll probably add that in the description. And maybe in the next show, we are still warming up. Probably in the next show onwards, I'll ask them to write that bit as well so they can say it at the end of it. Even I will get better at what I'm doing. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to the Totally Indian Football Show. This is your host, Siju, and thank you so much.